Hey everyone, Coach Investor back to another video for today. So now that we've had time to digest AMD's and Intel's earnings report, Qualcomm as well, if you're one of the Qualcomm's shareholders, do let me know down in the comments below. Now, I do want to focus on Intel for this video for one purpose only, and that's to talk about the future of the company, what the company is actually trying to do right now, why some people like myself still believe they can turn it around, although the majority of people probably think that Intel will never get back on top the way it was not so long ago, actually, not so long ago. So I'm going to talk about all of that in this video. Maybe it will be a bit longer than the usual types of videos, but that's okay. If you want to stick around, fine. If you want to play 1.25 times speed, that's also fine, but maybe do hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you have not. Now, first things first, I want to talk about two things with regards to Intel's management. First of all, taking a cut in their pay. So basically it was announced that Intel is cutting executives and managers' pay. So the cut to base pay start at 5% for mid-level workers and rise to 25% for chief executive CEO Pat Gelsinger. The executive leadership team around Gelsinger will take a 15% pay cut, while other senior management will see a 10% reduction. However, the cuts only affect base salaries and some other minor benefits. They will not affect the bonuses and stocks that make up significant part of top executives' overall package. Okay, this is already a good start. Now, continuing on the news here, Intel's CFO and Intel's CEO have bought some share more recently. Now, obviously there's only one reason why you buy shares as an insider. That's because you think it is worth more. There are various reasons why executives sell shares. Now, of course, when we talk about cost cuts, Intel has spun out Mobileye. They have been, ditching some segments of their business as well, and it is rumored that they might continue to do this in the future as well. Right now, Pat does not really want to talk about these plans, but he did say that, they are working on a couple of things such as the SKIP program, for example. We've talked about that on the channel as well. First of its kind, then the Mobileye one, but maybe in the future we'll see some other as well, because they do need to cut around $3 billion in 2023. And then they say in the next coming years, about $8 to $10 billion. So how will they do that? Of course, they're not planning right now on cutting the dividend. He did say we are committed to the dividend, still a competitive dividend as well for the shareholders. So there's really no end in sight when it comes to dividend payouts, although you might see a lot of headlines that are saying, the dividend is doomed. Right now, I don't see it happening, although I wouldn't mind if it happens, because it is a lot of money that they could use right now. And now, before I talk about the turnaround story for Intel, compare it to a bit with AMD, and then to the competitors out there, TSMC, Samsung, Global Foundries, all the markets that Intel is competing in right now. If you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description and in the pinned comment to get the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to full.com/couchinvestor. Now, when we talk about turnaround stories, especially when it comes to semiconductor companies, there is one thing that we can say across the board is that change takes time. When you are trying to change a company, when you are trying to change, a whole production line, a new product, a new architecture, it is taking time. For example, AMD, Intel's major competitor. Not so long ago, AMD was on the brink of bankruptcy. Yes, surprise, surprise, for those that didn't know, before the Lisa Su era actually began, AMD was so close to bankruptcy. Then, of course, the Lisa Su era began, and so did the turnaround. But it didn't happen in a year or two. It actually took 3 to 4 to 5 years actually for them to be in the place they are today. So for a company like Intel, Intel is a huge company, Chipzilla. So to say that a change, a turnaround here will take 3 to 5 years, I think is acceptable. And listening to what Pat said when he came in, he did say it will take around to 2025, 2026 until they have that leadership position. So in my books, he still has 3 years time. Of course, I did say in my past videos that I do want to see some results already in 2023, because if in 2023 going into 2024 we cannot see any improvements in the business, then I don't really see it happening in 2024, 2025. So for me, 2023 is a big year, especially going out of 2023 into 2024. But overall, the window is open until, well, January 2026. Now, you might ask, why does it take so long for a company like Intel or maybe a company like AMD to have that turnaround? Well, I'll give you a couple of examples, especially for Intel. Intel right now is playing in different segments, right? Client, data center, AI, recently got into GPUs as well, and then IFX, the foundry business. So all of these segments, they want to improve. They basically want to overhaul everything, change it, make it much better. Now, if you noticed, some of these segments are dominated by the likes of NVIDIA and AMD. So while they are trying to get into new markets and want to compete into new markets and to change their product, to change the architecture, to create a foundry business, it takes time. They have to do this while managing a good balance sheet, which currently is not really working out for them, trying to stay competitive and trying to innovate at the same time. Now, there are three categories here: product and market, architecture, and manufacturing. Of course, with manufacturing, this is the foundry business. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Now, when it comes to architecture, it is reported that Intel currently already has the lead when it comes to 3D packaging. You have 2D, you have 2.5D, but 3D packaging is really where the money is at right now. For example, they've announced obviously the Sapphire Rapids, but in the second half of this year, we should be seeing the ramp up of Meteor Lake. And that should really be a game changer, which basically means the better the design for Intel, the more desirable Intel becomes as a foundry and just as someone that is selling chips to consumer or to OEMs. Now again, it takes time because for 30 years, Intel designed chips with a monolithic architecture. And right now, all the future designs will be modular. So it takes time to go and make this step. By the way, being modular, the clients love it. And then of course we go back to the third business, IFS, Interest Foundry Services. So the foundries business. Now, it is a great business, right? We've seen the margins that TSMC has. But again, you have to compete with the likes of TSMC, Samsung, and global foundries. Not that easy of a task. And also, you need to have a lot of money. That's why we have the CHIPS Act. That's why we have the European Act as well to help Intel build those fabs. Of course, TSMC is also building one in the United States. But overall, this is taking a lot of money, but a lot of time as well. But you also have fact number 3, which is execution. How do you get to a point where you actually compete with these guys? Well, as Pat said,
and maybe most importantly, the 5 nodes in 4 years, getting the process technology back to leadership.
5 nodes, 4 years. Of course, right now we already have some report of how things are going. So Intel 4 is manufacturing ready. Intel 3 is on track. Both of these nodes, by the way, use EUV, ASML, which should decrease cost in a big way by removing double patterning. Now, 18A or 20A, silicon is running in fab of a major potential foundry customer. So right now, everything is on track. Everything looks very, very promising. But as I said over and over again, that's all fine. That's all great. But at the end of the day, I want to see perfect execution in the next coming quarters. It's all fine to announce great things, to say that we're making progress, we're on track. But okay, we want to see that in the quarterly reports. And I know some of you might think, oh, he's just overly bullish on Intel because he owns the company, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm actually telling it as it is. As I said from the first video, as I said, I was actually an AMD shareholder when nobody wanted to buy AMD shares. Nobody. I bought it at $22. Nobody wanted to touch that company. I had NVIDIA shares as well. As I said, I regret selling it too early because I was already up 300 something percent. Again, let your winners run. But don't get me wrong. 2022 for Intel has been a disaster. The Q1 guidance is nothing short of a disaster as well. Now, when you look at where Intel has been in the past, it's really crazy how they've closely run this company to the ground, right? A couple of years ago, not so long ago, Intel had the lead. Intel had around 90% of the PC and server profit dollars, and they blew that lead. Of course, that's why Pat came back, because last leadership was really not that great. They were just too comfortable for a long time, and then they basically blew it. They bought back shares when the stock was extremely high, never really invested in the business, never really looked a couple of years ahead and looked at, maybe this technology might be interesting, we might try this out. The execution at Intel went downhill. Since Pat came back, although the quarter reports do not show it, but the product itself, if you ask anyone around in the industry, Intel 12th generation, Intel 13th generation are so much better than everything that came before it. So, although right now the picture for Intel does not look rosy, and maybe it will never look rosy again, there is still, in my opinion, a big chance that the turnaround happens. Again, a company like Intel, it takes time to turn around, especially in the semiconductor industry. And that's why you need to give them 3 to 5 years time for them to be able to show you that, well, they can achieve that goal, get back to that leadership position in all of the areas that they want to improve or all the areas that they are currently going into. Now, that said, since we are investors, since this is a publicly traded company, quarter after quarter, they will face scrutiny because, well, investors do want to see some short-term results. Maybe not short-term results, but some improvements. And that's, I think, the big question here in 2023. That's certainly what I'm looking out for. Can they already improve this year? Of course, do share your thoughts down in the comments below. I will cover Intel throughout this year thoroughly, AMD, Nvidia as well. If you want any other semiconductor company, let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.